I'd like to actually open today's meeting with a moment of silence for Jack Feistel, a Lincoln Elementary School student who died over the weekend. So just everybody just think about that, and just about 30 seconds or so. Thank you all very much. The Pledge of Allegiance is our first order. Is Estella Samaro here yet? No, she's not. So would one of you other Burrell students want to volunteer to do the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, so please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Tell us who you are as well. But
please stand. Okay. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
thank you. And before you sit down, since you're there at the microphone, will you introduce yourself, because I don't have your name? And anyone else that you're here with, like your family, that might, if you have
Hello,
family here.
I'm Talia Lampkin, and I'm in 4th grade. I'm here with my mom and my sister, Marissa.
Well, thank you very much. In closed session, the board received information from staff, and direction was also given to staff on a number of items as in the agenda. For now, approval of the minutes for the January 28th, 2020 Board of Education meeting.
So moved. Second.
Student advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? I was here over the phone, so I actually can approve that one. The agenda was originally approved. The meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Motion to approve the agenda was made by Brad Serkin. It was seconded by David Whitkin. Mr. Christensen wasn't here yet, so it was a 4-0 vote. Since Burrell is not all here, I'm gonna push you guys back. Oh yes. Okay. Thank you. We're going to basically, as soon as everybody's here, we're going to just put you guys in. So up first is our student board member report by Sergio Godinez.
Yeah. I'll keep it really short. Last week, ASB hosted a phenomenal winter formal dance. The first one we had off campus at Madame Tussauds, the Wax Museum. It was a great venue. We're looking into it for next year. And then looking ahead, tomorrow we have our Are You Ready night, where we're going to have our incoming class of 8th graders from all of our feeder schools kind of come in and see all that Redondo Union has to offer, ranging from visual and performing arts all the way to athletics and stuff like that. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr.
I'm going to be
Keller.
spending most of my time later talking to you about our new logo that we're going to bring forward to you to consider. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce our newest member of the family here, and that is Miss Lily Cho, our new Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. So Lily, you want to greet the group here and say hello?
Good evening, Board President and members of the board and Dr. Keller and guests. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to be a part of the Redondo Beach Unified School family. I'm excited to join Dr. Keller's team of school leaders and continue the good work of students, staff, and community members. As your Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, I will directly support the school teams by engaging in classroom observations and be supporting the instructional leadership teams at the school. And a little bit about myself. I spent the past 25 years working in Torrance Unified School District as well as Los Angeles Unified School District. My older son is graduating from UC Berkeley this May and will be commissioning as a second lieutenant for the Air Force. And my younger son is in his second year at the U.S. Air Force Academy. I've been married for 23 years, and my husband, he is standing over there at the door, very excited. And he is here tonight, yes. So thank you so much for your belief in me, and I will not let you down.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything else, Dr. Keller?
I have nothing, thank you.
Ms. Moore, is your entire group here already? Not quite?
I have to
Or-
apologize. I was running on my years of experience as at 6:30, being here at 6:15. So for everybody, let me see, 1, 2, yeah. No, we're still waiting for a couple.
Is there any post-presentation or anything like that that you have that that you could do without them, that while we wait for them, or do we need them all for this?
Well, I could talk
Or
about
actually,
Let's just do the approval of the section 12.
well, I'm saying if we're all here.
Once we do hearings, it's going to start. Why can't we get the approval?
Jump ahead to action items.
It's hard to get, I think, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and then just one.
Oh. Okay, while you're still organizing your people, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump ahead to, I think I can jump ahead to the consent.
Sure.
So, we have 10 items on the consent calendar. Does anyone have anything they would like to pull for out of the consent calendar, consent items? Seeing none, do I have a motion for consent items 10.1 through 10.10?
Second.
Student advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That is unanimous. That then brings us to action items. So 12.1, approve participation in Sourcewell's Carrier Corporation contract for the purchase and installation of classroom cooling at the RUHS Science and Industrial Arts Building Project.
Second.
This is very exciting for us to be bringing this particular item forward to the board. This is the last step in completing our classroom cooling projects on a district-wide basis. We have seen tremendous benefits in all of our other classrooms, all of our other schools, in the energy levels of our students, and the fact that the learning has been enhanced, especially during the very, 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 very hot weeks that we have been experiencing. So we're very happy to bring this forward. This one was a challenge because this building was built in 1938. I wouldn't say it's historical, but it is of historical interest. Each room is designed so uniquely that it had to be a design build type of project with multiple types of units used for each classroom. So it wasn't a simple task to do this last project, but we're very excited that we're going to finally bring this forward. We promised this to the high school team. Usually I see someone in the back row that I know has been waiting for this project. And the only thing that I would say that is a little disappointing is the funding source. And what we're experiencing right now is something really kind of an anomaly in that we're normally very excited when the state puts forward a new bond project. But the new bond project coming up can actually hurt us in the fact that we may not be getting things like developer fees on some pretty significant projects that are coming up, and I know it's a discussion item later. But as a result, we have included a piece of funding that from aviation, and I know that that's really an important fund for the community as well as the board in preserving that fund for a rainy day. It can only be used for facilities. We've had it since Aviation High School was sold in 1983. I believe, though, that the historical significance of the building in the Science and Industrial Arts Building, the fact that in the business office, we call it the Lindbergh Building, and it has that relief over the door with the airplane, that it would be an apropos expenditure as much as we would rather not. Now, I can't say for sure that we won't have other funding sources, but just to be clear, I want the board to understand that these facility funds are getting much tighter than they were before. And that's the only reason that that particular fund is included in this item.
And I guess the one advantage is it's high school to high school.
Yes, it is.
And we would, as part of this, have a pledge to repay that when possible, correct?
We certainly can.
Either-
We don't have the exact amount yet because we don't really know what's going to happen with the future developer fees at this time. So it's really kind of hard to predict what that might look like.
Yeah, but at this point, this is more just giving authorization so we can start the process and move with it. And then the funding itself will have to determine, but, as we communicated before, the goal would be is that aviation could be used as the bridge if need be, but ultimately another path to pay it back. So.
Exactly.
Any other questions? Nope. That's student advisory vote on 12.1.
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That is unanimous. And we can move back to 7.1 now. Principal Karen Moore.
Where's Ricardo? Where's the stool? We have a stool for this?
There should
We
be a stool
usually have a stool,
underneath.
right?
Underneath.
I don't see it.
Oh, it wasn't there? Uh-oh. You can turn the microphone to the side and... Oh, here comes Derek. Maybe we need to build it into the...
Oh, it's a foldable stool.
Oh, it is.
It's foldable, there we go. All right. You're good, just stay right here, just stay right here with me. Okay. Well, good evening, President Waller, board members, Dr. Keller, and guests. It is my privilege to bring some amazing students to you tonight to share with you their Girl Scout or Boy Scout projects that are near and dear to their hearts. We proudly focus on the 6 pillars of character at Burrell and work with students on being connected at school to make their lives better. But these students have gone above and beyond the realm of school and into the community to make a difference, to promote kindness, to promote caring and generosity toward others. At Burrell, we currently have a little over 100 girls in the Girl Scout troops. We have a pack of boys that attend Boy Scouts, and they meet about twice a month, and they do lots of school projects, lots of community projects, and service projects. Tonight, they will each highlight a project that they genuinely connected with, and they will tell you a few facts about their contributions to others. So I'm going to have them line up, but I need kind of like some space here. So you know what to do. We practiced this. Come on over. I'm sorry, I didn't use the mic. Is the mic working? Yeah. Okay.
Hi, my name is Talia Lampkin, and I'm in Troop 5615. I'm in 4th grade. In 2016, Girl Scout Troop 5615 made a little free library that is in front of our school. Anyone could take out a book in exchange for a book they had at home. I took out a book too. They could bring back the book anytime they wanted. There's no need for library cards with this little free library.
Hi, my name is Isabella Umflet. I am 10 years old and a 4th grader at Barrel Heights Elementary School. My Girl Scout troop, 5615, has been volunteering with Feed My Starving Children for the last 5 years. We hand pack rice, soy, dried vegetables, and vitamins into bags, which are then sealed, boxed, and shipped to the neediest children around the world.
Hello, my name is Sarah Detom, and I'm a 5th grade student at Barrel Heights Elementary School. I'm a Girl Scout in Troop 2205, and in our troop, we try to make the world a better place by helping the community. Well, one thing that our troop has done to help the community was helping the homeless in Los Angeles. We collected hygienes, blankets, clothes, shoes, and also made sandwiches. Our troop was working close with an organization called Cloud9. We were grateful to see the bright smiles on the faces of the homeless when we handed out the bags. I felt really blessed to be a part of this amazing experience.
Hi. Hi, my name is Charlie Sawyer. I am in 3rd grade, Brownie Troop 7985. As Girl Scouts, my troop and I are involved in lots of projects that give back to our community. One of my favorite things we did was make kindness rocks and put them in other schools in Redondo to make kids feel happy when they read the message on the rock.
Hi, my name is Rachel Jacobson, and I'm a Girl Scout in Troop 2205. In Girl Scouts, we do a lot to give back to our community. One thing is kindness letters. Kindness letters are little notes made by our Girl Scouts that are sent to schools in need with positive quotes for kids. Our goal is to get kids to spread kindness.
Hi, my name is Skylar Glasser, and I'm a 3rd grader in Brownie Troop 7985 at Burrell. For part of our garden journey, we planted a garden in the kinder playground. We planted broccoli, lavender flowers, and lettuce. It was nice making the kindergarten area look pretty.
Hi, I'm Austin Stewart in 5th grade at Borough Heights, and I'm an Arrow of Light at Pack 555. In 2018, as we do every year, I was honored to take part in an event that we do on every Memorial Day, putting flags on veterans' graves. After we placed the flags, we saluted the valor and bravery of our country's heroes. I was a Bear Scout then, and I was one of dozens spread out over the cemetery. That is one of the many ways that Cub Scout Pack 555 helps our community.
Hi, my name is Juliet Matthews, and I attend Burrell Heights Elementary. I'm in 4th grade, and I am in Troop 5615. Serving hot cocoa to veterans is one of my favorite events of the year. Everybody has a job. Some girls pour the hot cocoa, some girls put marshmallows in the hot cocoa, and some girls serve the hot cocoa. The thing that is big about this event is that we donate gifts. Since not a lot of veterans have money, they get to pick Christmas gifts for their kids that are from us. They also have Girl Scouts help them pick the present. Then when the hot cocoa is almost finished, we pass out candy canes and Hershey Kisses. The veterans really like this event.
Hi, my name is Bella Rendis. I am 10 years old. I'm a 4th grade junior Girl Scout in Troop 5615. As a part of our Bronze Award project, our troop worked to spread kindness on World Kindness Day. We hosted a World Kindness Day event at our school town meeting where we gave kindness bracelets to every kid. We decorated the playground with kindness chalk messages, made kindness rocks, signs, and cards to spread throughout our community.
Hi, my name is Samantha from Girl Scout Troop 2205 at Burrell Heights. One of the things my troop did to give back to the community was making kid kits. Kid kits are boxes filled with toys, games, stuffed animals, and art supplies. These are put in the back of police cars to help comfort kids of all ages who may be going through a tough time.
Hello, I am Alden Snyder at Burl Heights Elementary. I am an Arrow of Light in Boy Scout Pack 555. Today I'm going to tell you about when our pack went to Casa de los Amigos, a senior citizen home. When we were there, we sang Christmas carols to the seniors. Afterwards, our pack serves cookies and trees plates to the seniors. Pack 555 and the seniors always look forward to this fun, festive event every year. This is just one of the so many ways that Pack 555 helps the community.
Hello, I'm Stella Samaro, and I am from Burl Heights Elementary. I am also a part of Girl Scout Troop 2205. As 5th grade Girl Scouts, we are working on our Bronze Award, building buddy benches for underprivileged schools. The schools we are giving the buddy benches to are Wilmore and Gardena Elementary. We sand the bench, build the bench, and spray paint it. We are also working on a book drive to bring much needed books for these schools. But we couldn't have done any of this without our amazing troop leaders who are teaching us to give back and be future leaders. So many things to do, so little time.
So as you can see, I'm very proud of these boys and girls. They have done an amazing job in the community, at our school, and their presentation tonight was something that was near and dear to their hearts. And I couldn't say no when I started pulling a few, so that's why you see so many. And we could have continued on and made it just a wonderful night to celebrate what they do in our community. I want to thank the parents for all of their support and answering the phone at 5:55. And but really just being a part of the community is empowering for these students. It is rewarding. And most of all, there's such amazing role models to all of our kids at school. So I'm just very, very proud of them, and I hope you are too. And they're ready to take any questions if you had any questions about any of these wonderful events.
Anybody have a question? Mike?
Well, I just have a comment. I want a reminder that we will be inviting you to come back before the board on your Gold Award project and your Eagle Scout project, which we do here on a regular basis. And as a dad of both Gold Award girls and Eagle Scout boys, I'm really, really proud to see you out here and doing what you're doing. So thank you very much.
I have a quick question. I do have just a quick question. Thank you very much for coming and sharing all this great work that you're doing. There's so many diverse ideas for ways of helping in the community. How do you guys come up with the project that you're going to do?
Well, usually for our projects are usually annual projects. We do them every year. And sometimes our leaders will just say, like, hey, here's another project.
Usually, we have an annual project with our Girl Scout leader plans, and then in between the year, we do like little projects, and all of those follow up with either a journey or a badge.
Alden?
We sometimes can vote on
No.
Sometimes we, as a troop, create ideas and then decide the overall.
Thank you. You guys are wonderful presenters, especially having to do it on the fly, thinking you weren't going to go on until right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for being flexible. And so
Thank you for being flexible. Really appreciate it.
I was definitely happy to see that kindness was the theme probably throughout almost all of these, but the service to the community is something that you start doing it now and you continue doing it until you're sitting back here or serving on the school board at some point. And the last question that I have is, would you guys all like to take a picture with the board?
Yeah.
So we're going to stand here. You guys come up this way.
So we need you guys to take 2 steps forward. We're going to stand behind you.
I'm shot. I'm like.
Okay, so that is. Let it quiet down a little bit so everybody can hear me on this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ricardo hasn't passed the comment cards yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I can see the crowd here, so I assume you're all here for this next section, which is our hearing section. Members of the audience may address the board on any topic regardless of whether it is listed on the agenda. However, due to Brown Act regulations, the board cannot engage in public discussion on items not on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda which are brought to the board's attention may be investigated by the administration and a report made to the board either publicly or privately at a future meeting. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes unless the time limit is waived by a majority of the board. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. Now, because I do see people in a pretty unified look here, I would ask that if you can consolidate in groups, or if somebody says what you guys were already going to say, yield your, come up and say, I've got this, I'm going to yield my time to the next person, because we don't want to be here for 4 hours. So we're going to attempt to limit this to 20 minutes. If it goes to 21, 22, that's okay, but still, when you see the 3-minute timer go off, we do ask that you yield to the next person. I do want to note that parents, community members may not have all the details, which can be frustrating for everyone. We have expectations that we expect all of our employees to meet. Sometimes they don't, and difficult decisions must be made. But as I said before, we cannot respond here due to Brown Act regulations. I have advanced written requests, and the first one I have is from Adrian Acosta.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to address the board this evening. My name is Adrian Acosta. I'm a Redondo Beach resident, father of 2 Redondo student athletes, and an RUHS alumnus, class of 1986. I stand before you this evening as a first in a series of speakers in support of Coach Andy Diver. I'm sure you've been inundated with a wave of emails and comments over the last week. I would hope that you have examined each and every one of those emails to measure the impact Coach Diver has had in our community in a very short amount of time. I'm a firm believer in we as parents should prepare our children for the path they may take in life, rather than clear the path for the children. It's not always the easiest of tasks, however. But in doing so, we then rely on a series of individuals to act as pillars to help guide our children when they are out of our view. These pillars may include teachers, clergy, public safety officials, coaches, just to name a few. Each will serve a purpose surrounding our children's experiences and philosophies. Yet these pillars don't always say the right things or make the popular decisions. Just as we hope that our children learn from their mistakes, we would hope that these pillars would do the same, especially in instances which are not illegal, unethical, or immoral. To borrow one of the core values of my organization, the Los Angeles Police Department, quality through continuous improvement. Using the failing forward philosophy, one is expected to make mistakes, respond to corrective action, and move forward to new challenges, especially in instances involving highly qualified and respected individuals. The decision that you're left with going forward doesn't just affect an individual, it affects a community and certainly, more importantly, a person and his family and their livelihood. I'm asking you tonight to allow for and provide corrective action to Coach Andy Diver and allow for him to remain an educator and coach at Redondo Union High School.
Pardon? You did, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Keller and school board members. My name is Mary Boyce. I'm here to speak in support of a very good man, Andy Diver. I'm a fifth-generation Redondo resident. My grandparents were alums from class of 1915. My great-grandfather was the mayor of Redondo in 1913. As a past PTA president at both Alta Vista and Paris Middle School, we worked long, hard hours for our California Distinguished School Awards. My grandchildren will be attending Redondo starting in the next couple of years. In 1992, I spoke to the State Board of Education on behalf of the Redondo Beach City School District at the hearings to separate the South Bay Union High School District and create the Redondo Beach Unified K-12 District. Since 1991, I have owned a competitive youth sports program with 245 children and 32 coaches in the Redondo Beach area. I have current Olympic and former Olympic coaches on my staff, yet it's amazing how much more my parents know than my coaches. So I deal with similar situations all the time. The solution is always full and open communication with all parties involved. When there is a complaint, leadership must step in and follow a set policy to mediate the situation with all sides for resolution and to move forward successfully so it does not blossom into all this. There are 2 or 3 sides to every story. Lack of communication is an incubator for disaster. Coach Diver has not been given the information or the benefit of open communication on the issues pertaining to him. However, he has been given totally positive teacher observations, and all of his teacher reviews are 100%. He was told by his principal, "You have done such a great job." Coach Diver deserves to know the details of what changed to put tenure in question. Clearly, there is information important enough to decide a man's reputation and career. However, leadership has not brought all information to his attention in a way to create a good, positive outcome to enable all parties to move forward. Redondo Unified was not created to serve the special interest of only a few or only the entitled. If a parent can wield their demands and the administration folds, what will the next parent demand be? The release of Coach Diver does not represent Redondo's philosophy. The philosophy and culture of Redondo Beach and Redondo School District has always been inclusive and supportive, not exclusive. So, what is the process to remedy a situation such as this? Without a strong policy in place, this will obviously happen over and over again. What is the fair process for resolution, and has it been utilized here? Your decision will define Redondo Union sports going forward. Andy Diver has earned the respect of every player and coach on his staff to the length that they will stand up and speak in his favor. I hope you will endorse Andy Diver for a positive future for all Redondo students. When you hired Andy Diver, you got it right.
Thank you. Next up, I have Corinne Grace.
Good evening, Dr. Keller and board members. My name is Corinne Grace, and I'm a resident of Redondo Beach, a wife, a proud mother of 3, and a teacher for over 25 years. Our family is here to show our support for Coach Andy Diver. We feel he is a valuable and irreplaceable part of the Redondo Beach community and RUHS staff. Teaching and coaching is a combination of dedication, creativity, and intellectual challenge. It is a career where no 2 days are the same and where we continue to learn from our successes and failures each day as well. I can truly say that Coach Diver has made a positive impact on our community in the short time he has been here. For the past 2 years, our family has been on a medical journey that I do not wish upon anyone, but we have tried to handle it with dignity and grace. In 2018, my husband Eric was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. He had open heart surgery in May and then was admitted into Cedars Sinai Medical Center in August, where he was put on a heart and kidney transplant list. During his 190-day stay at Cedars, Coach Diver was a father figure to my sons Mason and Gavin. Coach Diver was supportive, observant, focused, held them accountable, and made sure that they always knew his door was open. He was there with opening arms, listening ears, and a voice of reason when it seemed their lives were crashing in on them. Coach Diver stepped up to the plate again with our family when in April I was diagnosed with cancer. Not once has he ever let our boys feel sorry for themselves, but instead he has instilled in them a reason to keep working hard and with a purpose. Sometimes life is all about those second chances. Andy Diver is definitely passionate about his career. He deserves a chance to continue to make a difference in Redondo as a teacher and as head coach of RUHS. Thank you.
Next I have Harry Jenkins.
Thank you, School Board, Dr. Keller, and board members for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm going to give you observations that I've had. I walked on Redondo's campus as a freshman in 1959. So I've been around the school district through Dr. Brown when I was hired as a teacher in 1970, and my last superintendent was Dr. Keller. I've been around, I've observed, I've been a baseball coach for 33 years locally, and those are my credentials to give you my observations. Number one, I look at Redondo Beach High School and I look at Redondo Beach School District, excuse me, and I see an amazing school district. For all the years I've been associated, there's been little rips in the road here and there, but in general, Redondo Beach is the top school district that I could imagine being associated with. Welcome to your new job. You're gonna love this school district. My observations of Andy. I first was associated, knew about him as a coach when he played locally. Then when he became a junior college coach at Harbor JC and knew the Hall of Fame coaches that he has played for. So my observation has been in coaching, and I've seen nothing but good. I think when you look at a coach or a teacher, you want a couple of things. You want a leader. He's been a good leader. You can witness that right here with these young men standing up for him. Parents, I haven't heard a bad comment yet from a parent. I've been close the last couple of years observing games because I now have students whose kids are at Redondo and ex-players that are at Redondo, so I get to go see them do it again, and hopefully I go long enough to see my grandson, he's 6, do it again someday. So I give you an observation of a good man, a loyal man who's incredibly dedicated. Finding incredibly dedicated people, as most everyone in this room here is very difficult, I think. And you've got that in Andy. I watched him closely. What I observed closely the last couple of years as somebody who took a kid that was under pressure and having a tough time in a game and stuck with him. And he got great results from that. So I see an outstanding coach and an outstanding individual. This greatness I just talked about, I hope you come to that level in your decision. The majority that I look at of parents and students are in favor of this wonderful coach. Please give that your consideration and give him another chance, please. Thank you.
Next, I have Jan Stetzer. If I pronounced that close to correctly.
I think I might run just a tad bit long, so if I could borrow Adrian's 58 seconds that he left on the clock, I'd appreciate it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for this opportunity to speak. And at the moment, I wear this Redondo cap with pride. First off, I'm a father of a gifted son, one of the many talented student athletes we have here. He's a sophomore. A little about me. I've run around a baseball field for the last 45 years as a player and through college. I've been a youth coach since I was a teenager, and it was until my son reached the 9th grade here where I could finally hang my hat and say I don't need to coach anymore, because the coaching staffs here are amazing. That being said, I have all the confidence in the world in Coach Diver. As a head coach, he shows us all the integrity and wisdom, and I have all the faith in him and his fine coaching staff. I know my son and his teammates are in good hands when they're on the baseball field, and I can now happily watch as a baseball fan and a loving father. Baseball is where Coach Diver instills high character, morals, ethics on the baseball field, and it's evident that the players and coaches take to it as it is on display for any of us to see during games and practices. My professional career involves 32 years of dedication working for the same engineering company. My role as a senior manager is a problem solver and to manage the health and well-being of our company. I manage hundreds and hundreds of employees on a daily basis. I resolve employee issues, including disciplinary action and termination of employment when necessary. I've been involved in several hundred terminations and separations of employment. All employees have issues from time to time. We all know that. Even the best of employees have issues. And it's up to management to best determine what course of action is required. I get it. Handling personnel issues is very difficult. I understand your position. I also know, as part of my job, better than anyone, how challenging it is these days to find qualified personnel, let alone stellar ones. Replacing a highly qualified and beloved employee like Mr. Diver is like trying to find a needle in a haystack, let's be honest. I participated in Friday's meeting. I was one of the few who got to go in as parents. Many very educated and very passionate people spoke. I've already spoken today. And they shared their unique perspectives, all of which favored Mr. Diver. There were another 30 or more who sat outside and waited 2 hours just to find out what happened. The meeting ended with smiles and handshakes, but honestly, we are all left the meeting a bit confused and concerned as to how it was determined that Mr. Diver is not allowed to continue past this term, and really what the direction is going forward. We confirmed that no egregious actions occurred. There was no drinking, drugs, sex, or violence, which were grounds for immediate dismissal. We know that. No major incidents occurred. And respectfully, you would not comment otherwise. So I understand why you can't say what may have happened. Additionally, toxic rumors we have heard about, and emails that you may have received concerning Mr. Diver. You told us to not hold water in your decision-making. Nothing occurred on the baseball field as part of the baseball program, is what we were told. In the 3 years of service, we know of only one incident on record, which was addressed and resolved with no further action required. Otherwise, we believe his track record at Redondo was at minimum satisfactory. When we talked about this, you acknowledged that during your course of employment, you've said things that you wished you hadn't. We all make mistakes. No one is perfect. Yet you still have your jobs. What kind of message does this send to fellow teachers, students, parents, and the community? We're not sure. Is it a double standard? I don't know. We struggle to understand how you determine that whatever happened with Mr. Diver, it's deemed okay that he continues to independently coach and teach our kids until the end of this term. But from there, he's not welcome back. So at this point, the cat's out of the bag. We all know about this. Where do we stand now with Mr. Diver's fate in question? This man, the coach of the year, the man who helps students obtain scholarships, earn professional contracts, goes out of his way to help families who are dealing with tragedies, has the unenviable task of managing 3 teams of young men to play a very difficult game, a challenge unlike any other sport, where much of the game is having to deal with failure and disappointment, as well as deciding who may or may not get to play, or where or when they want to play, or if they get to play at all. It is here where an outstanding leader is needed to manage and mentor players and coaches through adversity, and this is where Coach Diver shines.
We're at 5 minutes now already, so.
I have 30 seconds? Okay, rambling. Quickly, we know our players and students are concerned, angry and upset. Our coaching staff is equally upset. Parents are highly concerned and outraged. There's growing concern within the public that's stretching beyond the Redondo community. Toxic rumors are spreading like wildfire, and it's getting worse. What I see here is a great opportunity for this administration to resolve a significant problem, reevaluate Mr. Diver's case, look at this situation with a fresh set of eyes, and find a way to reinstate him, not only in the best interest of Mr. Diver, but for the health and well-being of your students and athletes, your teachers and coaches, and the school. We also want to be really proud of our administration, too. I ask that you make the right decision to reinstate Mr. Diver, and you have the full support and backing from the Redondo community. Thank you.
The next one on my list is Brett McCauley, speaking for the players.
Good evening. My name is Brett McCauley, and I'm one of the senior captains on the Redondo Union baseball team. I've had the pleasure of playing for Coach Diver for the past 2.5 years, and I look forward to competing for him again this season, which starts on Saturday. I have truly loved playing for Coach Diver. To me, Coach Diver is the definition of a true leader, coach, and a mentor. He is what every high school player wishes for in a high school coach. He expects his players to work hard, on and off the field. He is passionate and fair. He is knowledgeable and experienced. He will go to bat for his players. He spends countless hours on recruiting and scheduling, all to make sure his boys and the program get the exposure they deserve. We are extremely lucky to have him at Redondo. Coaches like him do not exist at every high school. He has elevated our program so much in the short time that he has been here. When we open the season on Saturday, we will be competing as a D1 team. This comes on the heels of an extremely exciting and successful season last year, with us going to the semifinals in Division II, and Coach Diver being recognized as the All-Area Coach of the Year. Coaches like Coach Diver do not come around very often. I have literally spent hundreds of hours around Coach Diver over the last 2.5 years, and he has always carried himself in a way that should make this school and community proud, and makes me proud to be one of his players. He has led this team through many hardships, including the death of a teammate and also the death of a parent on the team, as well as several serious parent health issues. He has stepped up in giving guidance when asked and led us as a team in support of those families. I have played for many coaches in my 18 years, and I can honestly say no other coach has had an impact on my life as much as Coach Diver. It would be a shame if the players that follow me here at Redondo Union do not get to experience that same impact. Redondo Union is a better place with Coach Diver in it. Out of love and respect for Coach Diver, we request that you make the right decision. Thank you.
We're actually at 20 minutes now. Does anyone on the board wish to extend time? I've got 2 more comment cards. All right, so if you guys, I have two more, if you guys can keep it a little bit faster for us, just so we can get, I would like everybody to be heard, but we are definitely hearing passion and hearing what everybody has to say here. So Daniel Critchett.
I can probably yield maybe a minute back. I'll be brief. Thank you, Dr. Keller and the board, for having me speak up here. I'll just be brief. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying light. I felt the opening part of this famous poem by Dylan Thomas should be the anchor point of my letter to you and help guide me with my formal statement for Andy Diver. My perspective of Andy, in this order, is as a father, a teacher, a friend, and finally a baseball coach. I have a passion to tell impactful stories to all audiences, and I believe my story about Andy Diver will be one of them. There are a lot of metaphorical similarities from Thomas's poem and the future of Andy Diver. This famous poem about Dylan's dying father is the parallel to Andy's future as a teacher, a family provider, and a core pillar of Redondo Union High School, as well as the district. Goodness does come from fighting against the darkness in full force. Being alive with passion and deep emotions isn't a bad thing. It's a pretty good day if you experience some sort of passion for something in each day. We are observing that passion for one of your teachers. A great group who are loyal to a father, a teacher, a friend. A sense of loyalty, empathy, and passion is represented in the emails, calls, and presence of these families here tonight. This group understands the significant impact to this father from a financial perspective. The impact he has as a teacher is immeasurable and long-lasting. I believe in the power of empathy and the real need here in this situation to help reverse a potential direction. Much like Thomas, Andy Diver has had a similar fortune of being well-known and acclaimed. He is known as a man who has passion for all aspects of life and for others. He's known as a son who loves and helps his parents in all aspects of their lives. He is one of the prime supporters of his brother, who's had a really hard road, frankly. Andy was one of the core advisors several of these young athletes and students leaned on during the death of a classmate a few years ago. Personally, he was the primary reason for my son's commitment to Loyola Marymount. This last point has very dear implications to me. He was there for my son with the death of Jesse Esforce a few years ago. He was there to be leaned on here at Redondo, where the primary focus was at South, where my other son was. My allyship in driving me to advocate for Andy and for our administration and our board is to look at a greater relationship that benefits you, the student body, the district, for retaining Andy Diver. We all have, we've all been in situations where we needed to just have a little empathy and allyship in order to influence that break, something to go our way, a delay, so to speak, for the coming of the light. Andy Diver creates far more positive for our children and that he's surrounded day and day. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. In closing, what I'd like to say is this administration, with the support from the Board of Educators, has a great opportunity this week. You all have the ability to keep Redondo Union High School and the district and the community and keep it the best beach town in the South Bay. We are special, and we tell everyone as much. The community is watching the next steps and hoping we keep from blemishing the Redondo Beach reputation here. Thank you for your time.
And our last card is from Daryl West. Is there a Daryl West in the back out there? Okay.
I decided to give up my 3 minutes, move this along.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me?
Yes.
I came in a little late. I filled the card out, but I didn't hand it in. So I'd gladly take those 3 minutes.
If the board is acceptable. Okay.
Great. My name is Paul McPherson. I'm an assistant coach with the Frosh Soft team. I'm a resident of Redondo Beach. I'm an attorney. Please don't hold it against me. I've been an attorney in the area for over 40 years. Absolutely blown away. Had no idea you guys were going to be doing this. What a statement. What an impressive statement. It speaks so highly of these boys and of their parents. You have to respect parents who are able to produce kids with this kind of character, that they're willing to step in, put it on the line, and take a position they believe in, for their coach. What does it say about them? What does it say about their parents? Get it right. You have all of these people, these quality kids and quality parents and other quality concerned residents. And they're all telling you the same thing. There's been a mistake. There's been a horrible mistake made. I didn't come here to talk about Andy Diver and how great a guy he is. And he is. But I came to really talk more about the specifics, the incidents, because at the end of the day, I believe that's what this decision is going to be based on. But as a lawyer, I know that I look at evidence and I determine whether it's reliable and whether it's significant and whether it warrants doing something about it. So we have two incidents we're aware of. There are two incidents Andy Diver is aware of. If there are other incidents, he doesn't know about that. And if he doesn't know about it, then there's something wrong. We know he has limited due process rights because he's not tenured, but there's all kinds of case law that will confer those rights upon him. That's a discussion for another time and another location. We're talking about trying to resolve this in a positive way today. Two incidents. The first incident is based on a disgruntled parent, a parent who is upset because her son wasn't elevated to the JV team with his sophomore classmates. Great kid, but parent was upset about that. And we spoke about that at the meeting last week. And there was an assurance made to us that there is no pending litigation by this parent. The rumors that you folks heard that this parent is going to sue the district unless Andy Diver is gone, that's not true. And I believe the individuals who made that statement believed it. But that's not the case. There's evidence. So we received a text, and this is from the complaining parent to another individual. It's very short. I'd like to read it to you. Hey, thanks for hearing me out today, period. Miss you, period. Please don't say anything about what I told you about the JV coach's spot, period. I'm sure it's not a big deal, but I'm not sure if they will be okay with me saying anything, period. There may be a head coaching position available if I get my way. Laugh out loud. That is a message you need to be aware of. If you're not aware of it, you are now. There was a second incident, and we call this the November, and I'm sorry, I know I'm running late, and I apologize, but I would like to finish this. Second incident in November on campus. It is alleged that Coach Diver made a negative comment to a staff member regarding the inappropriate manner in which a student was dressed. He made the comment to another staff member. He voiced an opinion to another staff member that was not communicated to the student. It wasn't intended for anybody else. It's an opinion that he conveyed to another staff member, and it was overheard by two students who then conveyed a different story to the individual who was dressed inappropriately, and that individual then apparently came to the board with complaints, or at least to the principal with complaints. It's interesting, there were 2 witnesses, but 6 letters of complaint. There's a credibility issue here then. If you have 2 percipient witnesses to an incident but then there's 6 people identifying what occurred, there's an issue with that. I
We're at, like,
realize I'm
6
out
or
of
7
time.
minutes now.
So I would ask you, in light of the fact that the decision you make is going to have a monumental impact, not just upon a very good man, but upon everybody else here, that you consider the facts, and if you conclude that there were some irregularities or something that happened that wasn't quite appropriate, give him another chance. Thank you.
All right, that is the end of discussion on this topic. Do we have anybody else that would like to has a comment or question on agenda items? And if somebody's off in the back and running up, that's okay, we'll take care of it. District matters not on the agenda, but separate from this topic. And otherwise, that would be it. Next up is our communications portion of the agenda, where we provide an opportunity for the board to hear reports and communications for employee associations and community support organizations listed below.
Those are old ones.
All reports are limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public may address the Board of Education concerning this section. Redondo Beach Teachers Association. CSEA. It's not Pirate Day yet. AFT, I don't see. Redondo Beach PTA, I believe Sandy said she would not be here. Redondo Beach Education Foundation, do we have anybody from them coming? And again, if there's somebody in the hallway trying to make their way in at this point, we'll come back to you. That brings us to action item 12.2. Determining the revised Friendship Foundation Special Education Joint Use Project that is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act, approving the revised project and directing the filing of a notice of exemption.
This item is just bringing back what we brought a few years back, specifically with some modifications to the project and highlighting the change of circumstances by which we are applying for a CEQA exemption.
Any questions or?
So I don't know, Janet, did you want to do anything to summarize this?
No, I thought that was a great summary. We're bringing back this as a corrected item to more closely mirror what is actually going to be they're proposing to take place.
Plans change over time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it still has the same exemption.
But then we'll file the CEQA just like as we did before.
Very well.
Student advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or against? That is unanimous. 12.3, approve instructional service agreement with El Camino Community College.
Second.
All right.
That's me. This is a recommendation to approve the instructional service agreement that's in the agenda with El Camino so that we can offer a child development course at the South Bay Adult School during the spring semester 2020.
All right, any other questions? Okay, so student advisory vote.
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none, that is unanimous. 12.4, it says vote for no more than 6 candidates for the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly Region 24. We have 6 names that we've been presented with, which I forgot to bring with me. Do you have those? Okay. Maggie Bove LaMonica from Hermosa has been on there before. We're very familiar with her. I'd be very happy to support her. Do other people have anyone else that they would like to add to that list?
We had one representative from Torrance.
Okay. Jeremy Gerson?
Jeremy Gerson.
That's right, I remember that. Any others we'd like to add to it?
Just those,
I don't know any
yeah,
of the rest of them.
I'd say just those two.
Okay, so I would be happy to modify that and say that, Ricardo, do I need a board member to modify
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need somebody to,
Motion to modify to endorse Maggie Bove-LaMonica and Jeremy Gerson.
need a second?
I'd second that.
All right. All in favor of the modified motion, say, oh, student advisory vote, sorry.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, anyone against? That is unanimous. Five, or do I have to?
I think you vote again.
Okay, so now that we've amended it,
Moved the amended?
Second.
I think it was already moved and seconded when we started our discussion, but that's,
I don't remember who motioned the second, the first time.
was it Brad and David?
Yes.
So this is now on the amended 12.4, voting for those two candidates that we amended it with, which is Maggie Bove-LaMonica and Jeremy Gerson. Student advisory vote.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? And that is unanimous. 12.4 is complete. 13.1, unofficial attendance and enrollment reports. And that is Ms. Riddella.
We just had a one little blip that seemed a little bit excessive, and that was, it's labeled B on the graph. And it was a combination in checking with the sites of both illness as well as it being the day before a non-student day. So, you know, we typically have a dip, but not quite so much. So I do think it was a combination of illness, et cetera. And we are watching very closely to see what February brings.
Yeah, hopefully the flu season doesn't get any worse, but, and we have our 4-day weekend instead of the 2-3-day weekends like our
Yes,
neighboring districts.
That helps. That does.
Any other questions on the attendance report? That brings us to our first discussion item, 14.1, the RBUSD logo presentation and discussion.
All right, so as I was sharing with you, a little more to talk about, you're going to get a little more of me now. So we embarked on this logo renewal, if you will. And as you know, we involved our staff, and so this is just the most recent information that we have based on our logo design and renewal, if you will. So special thanks to these people. They certainly helped. Just a note, Jillian Navarro and Laura from Child Nutrition Services and Maintenance and Operation helped with going out personally to ensure that folks that didn't have access to their email, employees could vote. So we really did go after everybody. And the good news is we got 664 votes, which is almost half of our employee population, which all things considered is pretty impressive. So any statistician would say it's a substantial sampling, if you will. So here they are. We'll cut to the chase. So you had logo 1, full disclosure. I voted for that logo. It didn't win. Let me just let you know in the way of votes. But anyways, we really did feel there could be some modifications to it before the deadline, what have you, but wasn't the fan favorite, to say the least. Logo 2 seemed to have a lot of love in our district, and I'll just leave it at that, because we'll come back to it. Hint. Then you have logo 3, which some people compared it to many things, but it definitely, I think it's fair to say, did catch the eye of several employees. And then number 4, this had probably the largest commentary out of every logo, from Starbucks to had a religious tone to
I didn't see that until Rachel mentioned it.
other things I won't mention. So here are the votes. I'm just going to cut to the chase. That's how the votes came out. I have to say, I don't know if you were, but I was stunned at the weightiness of that. That's according to Derek. This is Derek's math, although someone can do it on the back of the paper right now. It's about 80% of the vote. And so, as our logo expert shared with me, it's it obviously creates kind of an ownable, lasting identity for a lot of our employees who really embraced it. And so, what's next for this group, I think, is the most important piece, is direction from the board. We would want to, depending on where you're at on this, just bring it back to the board at the next board meeting to memorialize it. It's going to take some time, obviously, to post this logo in every shape, matter, or form in the entire district, whether it be signage, whether it be online presence, or what have you. So it's going to take a little time. We will work with the consultant after your direction tonight. And I would ask, I'm going to go out on a limb here and ask if I can embrace one of you, Raymer, who really is into this logo design, because I had a lot of back-channel communication with Raymer and a lot of great input that didn't surprise me because it was in line with much of what Stephanie was telling us, our logo consultant. So I think it can be, the logo can be sharpened just a little. We may want to sharpen some of the colors or a couple, it'll essentially look the same if we were to go with the logo, if you're okay with it, that had the most votes. And then bring back for formal approval. And then the only thing I would ask, even though this is out on one of the websites at least, please do not share selected logo beyond this meeting at this point, even though it's somewhat out. And so that would be, I think, the key piece. So what I'd like to do, though, first is just share a couple comments from our logo person who was unable to make it tonight because her child had a high school event. But a couple notes she makes, and I think they're worth noting. Demonstrates RBUSD's mission and values visually. We are modern, welcoming, optimistic, deeply proud of all we achieve with our multiple schools. Evokes a sense of pride and unity, especially with the results of the vote. And this is the one I think is the most, it was a late comment from her, and I think it's worth sharing here. And just run with this a little because it's a little deep. The waves, okay, you see them there, also remind me, that's Stephanie, of the chevrons you see on military uniforms, denoting rank and service of years of service. I don't suggest that you liken RBUSD to the military, but those stripes demonstrate service and elicit respect, so it's positive and a unifying symbol, even if it's subliminal in your logo. And so there's a lot going on there, and that's why we encourage somebody to help us in this process. So with that, I'm looking for a little direction and want to get this done probably within the next week with your guidance.
Actually, the voting results don't surprise me at all, because that was the only one that really stood out to me. I had another one that was like a number 2, and the others weren't even a 3 and a 4 for me. So I'm not that surprised. It's nice and simple. I just want to make sure there's not like derivative and there's not a whole bunch of other districts that, somebody said, oh, look, it's a great logo, so you reuse that one. So just verify that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it does stand out to me.
There will be slight resemblances to others, I'm sure, out there. I've yet to see one, but I'm
Right.
sure,
It's just-
especially when you're using logo design, I'm sure
There's
there will
only
be
so many
something,
options.
but none that I've seen.
I mean, with 80% votes, there's not really a discussion as far as what we would use. I mean, obviously, if staff's bought into it, I'm fine with it. My only comment would be is maybe something a little bit more yellow, and it looks a little less orangey. That's just my only thought is changing that a bit, but otherwise, if as far as it goes, staff overwhelmingly supports. I'm not about to override that, so.
Well, it's nice that there's a clear winner, a unanimous winner. I do think we need to see it in different treatments, meaning if it's in one color, 2 color, 3, full color, all of that, and reversed. It does remind me of the Beach Cities Health District logo, I'll be honest, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're definitely partners with them, and I do like the blue. And happy to help in any way.
That'd be great.
Well, and I think I would agree that it's the superior of all. I easily see why it took the vote like it did. I would also, as Brad had mentioned, my only concern would be to vet it out and see who else has a similar logo. And I wouldn't just say school district, but find out who else has a similar logo and be sure we're differentiated enough to where we're not aligning ourselves with some group that we don't necessarily want to align with.
Yeah, I think of that.
It is, in its simplicity, I suspect there are a number of them that are similar.
Yeah.
And perhaps our consultant could do a quick check
Great.
to be sure that
Okay.
it doesn't. I would just ask, I support everything that's been said so far. I like the color scheme. Do agree maybe a little more yellow. And I would also ask that they maybe conform the text and the font to be sure that that's the best font that we want to put against
I
that.
think we talked about that already, yes. Yeah,
But I think you've
Okay.
you've hit on a winner.
great.
So do you have enough direction?
I have no comments on the design. I think it's a good idea to, like, as Mike said, to check other logos. But the populace has spoken. This is what they like.
Yeah. All right.
That's much easier than the last time you tried this.
So far, we're not done. We'll look into that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Next up is we have a discussion item on student board member policy. I had brought this up to Dr. Keller maybe 6 months or 8 months ago about talking about our policy, and then Ms. Flynn also wanted to talk about it, so I'm going to let you open the discussion. Oh, really? Or I could as well, but I can tell you, I read an article, I got an excerpt of it from Ed 100 from a student board member that talked about, it was really, can students serve on boards? And some things that she highlighted in her article was that, you know, she said that student board members, she recommended they serve for 1 year, and her recommendation was 11th grade because seniors have conflicting demands, and doing it in your junior year allows you to perhaps serve on the state board or a county board using that as a springboard. She had a few other points about part of the board policy could also allow student board members to make motions, certain kinds of motions, and/or second motions, which is something else we could add into our policy, because we've had that discussion item before about whether students can make motions or second.
Well, I would add, I think we've been really fortunate to have Sergio and prior to Sergio Madison, and they both served 2 terms, if I recall, as student board members. And please understand, you're amazing acts to follow and appreciate every second that you've done. I would like to consider the fact that maybe 2 terms limits the number of people who could serve in this capacity. So I wanted us to discuss, does it make sense that you only have served for 1 year? So that it would be, not to say we wouldn't want this up, probably we wanted every student board member to serve multiple terms, but just to be able to open it up for more students to have the opportunity to have this experience.
Well, and, you know, notwithstanding, you know, we've had 2 great examples of 2-term student board members. I would generally support what you're saying, Raymer, because I really would like to see more. I'm a huge proponent of student board members. Of course, I have a good reason for that.
Sure.
But,
Did you have that?
I did.
I don't know this, okay. All right.
But by the same token, I really would like to see that spread among more students and have them have the opportunity. It's intriguing, this idea that they'd be juniors. That's kind of a neat idea. I could support that.
From a, you know, student selfish side, having one more student as a board member is a significant resume booster for colleges and universities, for sure, serving on the board. So it would potentially allow another person to have access to that glamour, if you will, in their portfolio that they submit to colleges and universities.
I'd like to hear our student board members.
Yes, I would love to hear Sergio's point of view.
How did you get this position?
So I started my sophomore year in ASB is when I realized I wanted to be on the school board. So then I shadowed Madison. I'm sure you guys all saw me here. I was there basically for every meeting until I got appointed to the position. I went through the application process with ASB, went through the interview process with Mrs. Mata, the ASB cabinet, as long with, I believe Mr. Brandt was also there. Then I was appointed to the position. I didn't start until September, but I was here all summer. So I do appreciate that it is, that the term starts on July, just so that you have that full year to kind of get adjusted to the position before the school year starts. But so from what I'm understanding is there's the term limit of just 1 year. So a student would no longer be able to serve a second term, even if they were re-interviewed. Because to get the position for the second year, I had to go through the entire interview process once again. So that's my only concern, is that I know going into my senior year, there was no interest for students to take the position, and I was the only one who expressed interest to kind of continue my role here, just because I believed a second year would allow me to do, kind of just expand what I did on my first year. And even now, as a senior, trying to find someone to take over the position, or someone who at least has interest, I've gotten many comments from kids in ASB who simply say, well, you do it so well, I don't know who's gonna take it over. And I was like, well, next year, I won't be here, but the position still will be here. So that's my only concern, is that if it's a one-year term, is being able to find students who are interested enough and who have enough training, because a lot of my training was outside of school, like going to these school board meetings, going to young leaders meetings, PTA meetings, just so I was very much well acquainted with the position. So by the time I took it on, I was able to kind of, hit the ground running basically without having, without needing a lot more preparation than than someone who was kind of just thrown into the position. So that's my only concern, is finding students who are, first of all, interested in making sure they had enough training time to be able to take on the position with just a one-year term.
I would agree with you, but with the exception of if, I think most people are assuming, and just based on historics, if you're serving as a junior, you're probably serving as a senior. And not to disqualify that you didn't earn the right to come back, more just if they know it's a one-year position, then it may open the opportunity for people to actually get interested and look at it. That would be my only response back to it, not one way or the other, but it's.
So what would have happened if someone else had applied this year? Would just the board of ASB have had to make a decision on who to appoint?
Yeah, so they would have had to go through the same interview process, the same application process, and we both would have interviewed for the position. And Mrs. Motto, along with our ASB cabinet, as long as Mr. Brandt, would have had to decide who was the best candidate to take over the position.
And there have been years where we've had multiple people apply.
Yes, yeah.
So it's just, this year, I guess.
Was just the one word.
Well, you're a hard act to follow, in all fairness, and I tend to think people think, well, I wouldn't want to even consider taking that away from you. So, I mean, I would hope that, when there's a vacancy, people tend to step up.
No, there definitely is, and I know when the interview process came around the junior year for my senior year, I did have a discussion with Mrs. Mata whether I was gonna stay with the board or run for like an ASB cabinet position. But I think one of the biggest things one of the biggest messages and leadership skills is learning where you best serve the team. And I think I realized, being on the board is where I best served the student body, best served ASB, So I think it's been an honor to serve on the board, especially for 2 years. I think I've grown a lot more than my first year, especially with the first year. I can speak from my experience, and Madison has also mentioned to me, the first couple months are a little bit of like learning to take off your training wheels and kind of just be able to do it on your own. So that's just my only concern with the one-term limit, is being able to have an effective student school board member with only the one-year term.
Yeah, I definitely see that. We experience the same things as board members here about taking time to get used to it and being more effective over time. Yeah, my biggest concern really is limiting the opportunity of others. And in your experience, there was no limitation because nobody else wanted it. So I don't know, is there a way of wording it that says, preferred that it's 1 year and with exceptions have a second year or something like that? Because it's more, at this point, everybody involved assumes it's a 2-year term because people have had 2-year terms. And that's my only worry, is that people sort of assume that precedent's been set, and once you're there for 2 years.
Yeah.
As opposed, so it could be people don't even think that they should apply. That's my only.
And another thing to mention is the position has never been closed off to just juniors or seniors, and Ms. Mata has never forced the student school board member to take on the second term. It's always been something we've wanted to do voluntarily. So it's never been closed off to sophomores who wanted to apply, who are rising junior, who are going to become juniors, or juniors who are becoming seniors. So it's never been exclusive to a certain upperclassmen, lowerclassmen. So.
And I could see limiting it to just, say, 11th graders, just juniors, might shrink the pool too much.
Yes, yeah.
So.
And a lot of students I know don't even realize the full range of what I do on the school board, just because my position is so much outside of school, whether it's PTA meetings, school board meetings, my young leaders meetings. It isn't until I kind of demonstrate to them or invite them to come to school board meetings that they kind of gauge an interest in the position at all. So that's another something to think about, is it's just all on interest level, and it's a year-by-year thing, whether the students have an actual, like a sincere interest, or whether it's just gonna take the current student school board member to kind of just push what the position does into the student council, so that way they can kind of understand better where the student school board member lands in terms of the job and the responsibilities.
I think if we consider changing it, we can have wording, something to the effect of at the high school principal's discretion for the
Discretion,
second year.
given circumstances, or.
Meaning, it won't be, if you will, a finite 100%, must come back to the board for approval, but if that's, the internal workings of the high school, I think ultimately would dictate that, meaning it's not something I think we want to get in the weeds with. I think that's something if we decide to move that direction, that give the principal direction to make the decision for second year or beyond.
And since this is a board policy, would it be a board member would then take the initiative of amending this and sending it to a meeting? It gets previewed one meeting, comes back the next meeting and all that?
Yeah, and I would just say work with me. I'm happy to work with any board member that wants to take the lead on that.
All right.
Write it up, and if there's a draft language or edit, bring it to me, and we'll either bring it as a separate board policy consideration, or integrate it with our stack that we're bringing to you shortly.
As long as it's in time for this next round of, we want to have it there, so it's not, the students don't find out about it 2 seconds before it's time to be
Sure.
selecting. Do you know what that time frame is, Sergio?
We usually go late March, early April, and then by mid-April, the final list of ASB members are solidified, so that way they're given the rest of the school year to kind of get trained on their new positions.
So just to make sure that the students know the eligibility, we might want to do it sooner.
The only thing I'd say is,
I guess they
I
know
have
it's
no
coming.
problem moving forward, but getting things done, but I just would say, if we get it done by, by the end of the year, and even if we've selected the new person, an incoming person, we just let them know what the plan is. I don't feel like we've been deceitful with them if, before they're sworn in, we've shared this information with them.
Yeah, I think we're okay, because ultimately, your second year is not a guarantee regardless. Ultimately, you're still reapplying for it, and so,
I agree.
Things change. So.
Well, I kind of wonder if Dr. Keller, you or the cabinet has any observations from the way it has worked, say, in other districts? Because I think sitting in the cabinet, we've probably got a dozen other school district experiences as to what student board member involvement, has been
Others
good
can
at.
share if they have their, I've seen it every which way, but I have not, to my recollection, seen back-to-back years. This is the first school district I've seen, but my umbrella for this is limited. So, moving out to other districts. It's done very differently. There are some districts that don't have student board members. And so, one of the pieces, at least in the language, is, we encourage a 1 year, there's ways to word it appropriately that's, doesn't potentially put us in a pinch too, if somebody, say, didn't want to or reach out and serve, or have their name on the list. I think that would be the other piece. Having a voice here is very important, but like I said, I think the part for me that's selfish, if my child had a chance to have this on his or her resume, I think that's a great thing to have. So this would expand the ability to have one more person having that on their resume. I think that's powerful.
Yeah, and I would
do.
agree.
Torrance has 4 comprehensive high schools, so they have 4 student board members, but they don't serve at the same time, which means, and their board member is their student body president. So their student body president attends approximately 4, maybe 5 board meetings out of the course of the year. So, they have an opportunity to give student perspective to the board, but they really don't have the opportunity, as our student board members do, to really understand the governance side of how school boards run and operate. And I would say that that's a huge benefit for our students. That's a neighbor's.
And I think LA Unified also has 4 student board members that rotate, is what I remember from reading into it. I don't know, do you know any of how that worked? No, okay, but.
PV has 2 that rotate, they have 1 for each high school.
Yeah,
so.
they do.
And I've spoken, I mean, at CSBA with the student school board member kind of session that we have, I've spoken to many. There's a couple that do serve a second-year term, but a lot of them are, just because they're multi-high school districts, they kind of, it's just a group that shows up to the meetings and gives a report, and that's about it. There's no preferential vote, no commenting on board policies or making motions. So that's what I've seen. I know San Diego just got a new student school board member. He had been trying since like the 7th grade to get a student, and he's a sophomore. And one of the biggest issues he had was the term limit, but I wasn't exactly in agreement with him the way he went about getting the 2-year term. So he was more willing to ruffle feathers with the board than I am, but that's his own.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, on your last meeting, you can ruffle your
Yeah.
way.
Start making.
Well, no, he hasn't walked across the
Stage.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Once he's got his
Once you got your diploma, then you can do that. Do we have enough here, you think? And Raymer, would you like to be the one?
Oh, am I being volunteered for this?
Well, I'm asking,
Sure. I'd be happy to draft
Yeah.
language with Dr. Keller
Yeah,
that
be great.
talks about expanding the opportunity to maybe more students if possible. Yes, sir.
Well, you have the copy of the
Yep.
current policy.
Mhm.
So it
Just
would
add a
be
number?
matter of editing in that, yeah, we wouldn't have to start from scratch.
So it would just be take what I,
Correct, we would be revising that policy.
Yeah.
and it's just the guidelines, or would it be the policy?
I think it's just the E9150. I don't think the board,
Probably the exhibit, because the exhibit is relevant to our RBUSD.
We can take a look at it.
yeah,
Okay.
looking at the BB 9150, I didn't see anything in there.
Yeah.
Although it talks about your term starts
So it's
July
this one.
1st, but we're not changing that
Exhibit
anyhow.
9150.
So the exhibit 9150 is the thing that talks how it works and who, advisory committee and all that, interview process.
So we'll do logo and then we'll run right into board policy.
Great.
Great.
Keeping you busy.
Okay.
Another question I had, the 2 character references, is that more of like a teacher recommendation for the position? Or, because that's something I did not have to go through.
Huh.
Or is,
It's a great,
Is it something that you think is important or not
I
important?
yeah,
or-
no, I think it's, I didn't have to do it, but I think it is something that is beneficial just because everyone in the interview, on the interview panel is able to get a better kind of perspective on the student who is applying just outside of the application, their physical application is out, as well as outside their interviews. So I think it's beneficial to just get a whole perspective image on the student.
Is there a standardized form that they hand out that anybody that's interested, like that ASB or somebody at the school does?
Yes, so it's a general application that everyone who wants to apply to ASB gets. So what you do is, when you get the application, you fill out, it's your top 3 positions, and then you also have to mark whether, if you don't get your first choice position, whether you would like to go for your second or your third, or just anywhere where ASB feels that you should, what position you should be placed in. Or if you don't get your first choice position, you just are canceled out of the application pool entirely, just because you didn't get your first choice. And then the questions are just, they're much more generalized as they apply to all positions, talking about what does Seahawk Pride mean to you, what kind of leadership skills do you bring, but there's not a specific student school board member application that students must fill out.
You might want to consider.
Yeah.
Well, this policy says that you do not need to be a member of ASB.
Yes,
in
yes,
order to
students
apply.
who are outside of, who are not currently in the ASB classroom are allowed to apply for any position that is within ASB, as well as they can run for certain appointed positions. The only ones that are off limits are the positions of ASB president and vice president, where you have to be in ASB for a minimum of 2 years in order to run for those positions. But when it comes to appointed positions like athletics, fundraising, school relations, the student school board member positions, it is free for application for anyone at RUHS who wants to join ASB.
So, yeah, you could work with Ms. Mata and see if there's an application you could create that would make it easier, that basically makes sure, enter your GPA, enter why you want to do this, who are your references. That way, because it is a unique position, it might make it smoother and easier for your follower board members.
It's definitely something we can look at.
And that's something that you can do as a leader and make a change, and 10 years from now, people sit there and go, oh, it's the Sergio form. Okay, 14.3, California Public preschool, kindergarten, and college health and safety bond discussion, which is the March 2020 Prop 13 that has nothing to do with the old Prop 13. Reason we're talking about this is this bond measure, which is widely supported across the state by many organizations, has ramifications for Redondo and similar districts. It has two changes. One is the priority that districts get the money is based on the property valuations, which puts us towards the bottom. And the other is that developer fees will be reduced significantly for projects that are near, and near is not defined, it's just near transit hubs. But the Galleria is a transit hub, so, you know, by definition, that one's gonna be near no matter what. But Legato could be near a transit hub. 190th is a major street, so maybe they would consider the Foundry project being near transit. So Redondo could literally be in jeopardy of losing millions of dollars of developer fees, while at the same time not being eligible for the bond money. And we are being asked, you know, at least I'm being asked by constituent organizations like the PTA, what to do about it. Because the PTA has taken an official support position, and our PTAs follow the state and can, if they want to, be in support of this and, you know, do things in support. But it'd be nice if we had a little bit, at least enough discussion here so that when the PTA comes to us, it's not just me personally saying, hey, by the way, here's some concerns I have. If it could be more, the board discussed it, and the board thinks that, you know, unofficially or officially, whether we want to take an official position or not is up to the board, but.
I think we can officially explain what it would mean in terms of Redondo Beach, because we do have increased enrollment, and the developer fees we need and we count on in order to meet the demands of development. And if that were to go away and we are still going to develop, it's going to put this district in a very precarious situation, because it'll be taking away money and not allowing us to apply for money. And we already just saw with Ms. Rodella's report that we have to go and dip into the aviation high school fund because we're not able to count on standing in line. Something you've always done such a great job of is making sure we're standing in our place in line should they free up money for facilities. I know, sitting on the Measure Q committee, there haven't been money for facilities in a very long time in California. So I think a lot of people's excitement is, yes, we need to take care of our declining schools, but if you read the devil is in the details, what's in this particular bond, eliminating developer fees and not specifying what a transit station is. It's trying to be all things to all people. It's trying to encourage development, and which is on the governor's hot list to deal with homelessness, to try and encourage it, which is it's an important issue. It's sort of a give me to developers to get people to develop because they're getting out of having to give school fees. Not as many districts may be as worried about it because they may have declining enrollment, so they don't need this developer fees. I think you use it as a unicorn. We're a bit of a unicorn, but it's our unicorn. So I think it's important that all of our parents in Redondo understand what this vote would mean, and certainly can make their own decision based on that.
Because I spoke to somebody from Palos Verdes, and they don't really have that much of a concern. There are no transit hubs. They've got declining enrollment, so they weren't concerned about it.
And they're passing their own bond.
They have a parcel tax, too.
Yeah, except for the fact that their facilities need massive amounts of work, and they're not gonna get benefit from this either.
But, yeah, and they're going after a bond that's gonna be a tough one, too. You know, once again, we're at the bottom of the list, just as in the other suburban school districts. And again, the politics are stacked against us.
Now, do you think, Mike, since you know more about CEQA than the rest of us, how does that affect, or how would this measure affect that? Having to go out for CEQA again, or change?
No, I think it's cleverly worded so that it won't have, CEQA won't be an issue on this one. You know, CEQA is very much slanted towards transit-oriented development anyway, because of the impact it has on improving transportation, so I don't think that that's going to be an issue. But I like what Raymer's saying, is we just let people know that this will cost us a lot of money.
A summary of what it means for Redondo, just sort of an analysis of if this passes, what this will mean. I think that's what more people have been looking for than not.
Yeah.
I sat at a Sacramento safari training with Manhattan Beach, and they were discussing the certain, because we're about to go to Sacramento, and we need to know all the legislation that's on there, and they talked about this, and she was floored, because you have to read the details, that what that meant, and she's like, I wish there could be a summary that talked about what it means for us. And I'm not saying that it should be prioritized differently. I mean, you can all make your own decision about the priorities, but the reality is it even makes reference in this bond that, oh, well, since you're gonna be last, or you're not gonna get any money from this, you can go ask your parents, or your constituents.
right.
They gave you a solution. In fact, they allowed us in this thing to go for even more money in a local bond, which, is.
Yeah. And that is the solution that they tell you if you talk to the legislators is, well, you can get a bond.
Yeah.
You can afford it because you are the kind of district that, your residents would be happy to pay. It's like, but they're paying the other bond too because they just voted for indebtedness.
Yep.
I don't know, I think it smacks in the face of the whole local control, but we're gonna manage it, but everybody's gonna pay for it. I think from a district perspective, it's millions of dollars of losses for us and our surrounding districts, as well. And I personally think as a board, if we're going to discuss it, I think we officially take a position of voting no. Because and it's not to be selfish for our own district, but I think it's not, the intent may be there, but the way it's done is another tax and another assessment that ultimately, will benefit some and not benefit most. And, and I'm not sure that throwing money at from a state perspective is gonna solve the overall problem. But we needed things we asked locally for our own parents, and I think likewise, that's where I'm at, but.
I tend to agree with Brad and Raymer. I mean, I'm fine
Taking a
with the board
position.
taking an official.
Yeah, I'd be
position.
fine with
Like
that too, taking an official
Alright.
position on it.
Pretty clear cut that this is a bad
Do we need to?
measure for RBUSD.
Yeah. Do we need to bring that back?
And it wouldn't have been that hard to have crafted some elements that would offset some of that emphasis on non-suburban districts. It wouldn't have been that hard to put something like that in there.
The fact that it's a double whammy, it's like if it was only one, maybe we'd be saying, oh, we can live with it because we're still gonna get developer fees, or we can, live without the developer fees because we can still get the bond
The
money.
state money, right? What do we have to do in order to take?
I'm talking to Janet, so I'll just ask her out loud. I'm not aware of anybody who's taken a resolution to the board, but you may, because this is your world.
No, and in fact, I think that this is something that quite frankly, the typical consultants in the area do not want to see, in the education business, do not want to see any pushback on this.
Of course they would.
Does that
But,
mean we're not gonna do it? No.
it requires a supermajority. So, while there may be 40% of us that are in this position, that 40% could impact
So they don't
the
want us to
outcome
know that this is a bad.
if the word got out.
But our decision whether or not to craft a resolution, how does that relate to like what any consultant may or may not?
Well, in other words, they're not recommending a template right
There's no-
now that typically they put out for us.
There might be a template in support out
To-
there.
to- there are.
Sure.
There are.
There are lots of templates
Yeah.
of support,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But we can put something
I
together to
think
bring back to you.
we could draft something and bring it back.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure there have been resolutions,
We can do
I
whereases.
guess
say-
something that we could take from that.
Just take the
position.
one for it and everything to
Yeah.
not.
Just a bunch of whereases.
Yeah, just a handful of whereases that really hit to that
Yes,
point, which would
whereas.
be also.
Whereas the priority, whereas developer fees,
No,
whereas
like
whatever.
the practical impact of what we do, like
Yeah.
Are you allowed to like go on social media and
Yes.
say?
And I already have,
RBUSD?
so he's not the only one. I mean, Manhattan Beach was very curious to know what we
Yeah.
were gonna do in terms
The,
of.
the difference is, if, if I was speaking about this previously, I would say, personally, this is how I
Yes.
feel.
Yes.
Whereas if we passed a resolution, I could say,
The board
the board officially
Yeah.
is against this.
And I'll confirm that with our attorney, but that's my understanding.
So I've been very clear when I've been social media posts where I don't even say I am in support or I am against it. I just say the impact would be this. I try to confirm a fact only, whereas.
With the caveat is we don't support it. I mean, if.
Well,
the
it'd be
city's
very
already-
simple.
Well,
If there was a
previously,
board,
yeah.
if we
100%.
vote not to, that's something easy to hand out to
Yes.
people, and it's easy to share with PTAs, it's easy to just.
Okay,
Thank you.
got it.
I guess my only question would be is our next meeting is not for 2 weeks. Is there anything we can do in
In the
In
interim,
and
in
I'll
the
be up
interim,
in
only from a
Sacramento
only
in
this-
2
Yeah.
weeks too,
From a
talking
standpoint of
about it.
being able to,
have it out sooner.
I mean, I have my ballot at home already.
Right.
For the election.
Already.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I voted no.
Special meeting, or do we have, or is there some way of doing that? Everybody show up for?
I'm not a big special meeting fan.
I know.
But only because this is, I don't see a crisis, but that being said, you're the board, you tell me what to do.
I would say, why don't we get advice from our legal counsel tomorrow, and then we can make a decision, I guess. Individually can communicate to you what we want to do, but, I mean, and I agree with you, I mean, short of having a 5-minute meeting.
5 minute
just
would be a
saying this is
5 minute,
what
we
we're gonna
walk
do,
in.
but I just, what I don't want to do is we've
After everybody's mailed in there.
We've all expressed our concern with
Yeah.
it, and to wait 2 weeks for it to get out publicly that this is.
March
what we're
3rd.
standing for, and
But if
the
you-
election's a week later.
But
so.
if you post tonight, in the board meeting 2 hours ago, we had a discussion about Prop 13, and all 5 board members were
I wouldn't,
unanimous.
yeah,
I
I
was
wouldn't
gonna
touch
say
that.
Dr. Keller said
I wouldn't
that.
touch that
Touch
until
that.
the attorney has said something,
Yeah.
we can find out what it is, but.
People can watch the meeting and hear our discussion,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
but,
I would just need, I mean, if we're doing a special meeting, I would just need 3 of you. And be mindful down the
Well,
road.
and if you have
And be
that
mindful
before I
somewhere
go
down the
up-
road, someone's gonna want you to have a special meeting for another issue. Just be mindful of that. But I'm willing to do it.
but yeah,
Just
potentially,
remember, this is not setting a precedent.
Okay.
yes. Put that in the board policy without
Sure.
setting a
Yeah,
precedent.
no problem.
Whereas,
Whereas, Monica.
It's funny.
and our next discussion item is our placeholder, the Southern California Regional Occupational Center discussion. Do we have updates and news?
No, nothing yet. It's, we're gonna have, we had to move because of a quorum issue, we had to move our February board meeting to the 27th. That's when we'll have that discussion. I don't know that I will have anything yet from the consultant for our next board meeting here, but I'd ask, just keep it on the agenda.
Okay,
If I
yes,
do,
you got
we'll
it.
discuss it. If not, it will definitely be discussed at our first meeting in March.
Perfect. I have, I guess I'll call this correspondence. Got something from John Chung for the League of Women Voters, Beach Cities discussion, follow the money on the budget. It's February 24th at Miracosta High School in their small theater. I've got a flyer that he sent me, and he sent to all the board members except for Sergio. So I forwarded it off to Sergio in case anybody else didn't, but I'll call that a communication item instead of a discussion item or a report. Any other correspondence? Okay, then, Mr. Whitkin, board member report.
No report.
Mr. Christensen,
Nothing for this meeting.
Ms. Flynn,
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Serkin.
Same thing, later tonight.
All right, well, I'll take, since I didn't give a report last time.
Okay.
I'll make it quick, though. Yeah, turn on the clock. I can do this in a minute. I know how to talk fast. The city had an inaugural MLK celebration on MLK Day at City Hall. It was a very well-attended celebration, good community event, and I was very impressed by our mayor's speech. I thought he gave a very good speech that fit the occasion. we had some talk about the mural at Dreisler, and so I went by and I visited on 2 different days and saw the progress, and I saw the finished product, and in fact, made my own version of that finished product, which I guess we'll be showing off sometime soon for display and future gifting. And then the last thing, I was asked to let the public, since we have so many public people here, know that next week the city council will be discussing the allowance of dogs on leash in parks. So they're looking for community input on allowing that, because right now you cannot have a dog in the park, no matter what, period.
You can't in the stores.
Kind of a big deal.
Right. So they're discussing
negative for you, Vicky.
whether or not to allow dogs on leash.
On leash.
In parks. Brings us to calendar of events. February 14th and 17th, that's Friday and Monday, are our 2 holidays for Lincoln and Washington, President's Day otherwise. February 25th, 2020, Board of Education meeting here in this room. March 10th, March 24th, same thing, Board of Education. And then April 6th through 10th, spring recess. Everybody's looking forward to that already, I'm sure.
God, are we there already?
Yeah. Well, April.
Yep.
So, do we have any, other than the standing SoCal Rock, future agenda items?
No, but I'd like to make a motion to go back into closed session after we've talked, after everyone's come in here, just so we can have a quick discussion.
Sure.
Do you need a second? Second.
I don't, I think I can declare need for, I can,
Okay.
so. So, without that, then no future agenda items. I will declare a need for closed session, which I expect will be relatively quick, and then we will come back out here to adjourn.